not. Wait a minute. I have the right. Yep, it's on the garage. Okay. I'm on the right modem, or whatever they call it. Hey, it's actually sunny out right now. All right. Hi, Grateful Owl. Welcome. Isabella says hello. Hi, Isabella. Ian's getting on. We actually have sun today. We've been raining a lot the last few days. It's had some good pouring buckets downtown in our town with high tide, and the rain flooded, which was quite impressive. I was really glad I wasn't going anywhere. So how's everybody doing? Ian says, welcome all. How was everyone's Samhain celebrations, if you had them? Ours went pretty well, just family. Kind of intense, cathartic, definitely. I was glad it was just the family because of, everyone in the family had someone they needed to talk to from that had passed over recently. And I tried out that recipe for soul cakes. Ian and I both loved them. Not everyone was as impressed. Grateful Owl says mine was good. I handed out treats to the homeless. Ooh, nice. Robert says, hello, totally, everyone. Soon election day for USA. I know, I've already voted, so I'm just waiting to see what happens. Eve says, yay, I made it. Hey, everyone. Hi, Eve. So happy you made it. Teresa says, what was in the soul cakes? It was a meme. Let me think. There was like cinnamon and allspice, and I didn't have any nutmeg, so I left that out. Flour, sugar, just sort of basic kind of stuff. It's very similar to the cakes I make for May Day, which are sweeter. They have more honey in them. But you roll the dough out and you make little 3-inch circles. I use one of our, glasses or whatever, and use that to cut the circles out and bake it in the oven. It's a sort of a combination or between a cookie and a muffin, I'd say, for texture, something like that. They're sort of dense.
I thought they were good.
Yes, I liked them. Robert says, Siofra, what are the usual signs of a psychic attack? I prefer angel cake than a demon cake. Angel cake is kind of too fluffy for me. A devil's cake, on the other hand, would be okay, but demon, I don't know. I've never tasted one of those. Signs of a psychic attack. Well, I guess it depends on the individual. Sudden pains out of nowhere that you can't explain. Feeling of doom.
Yeah, it kind of depends both on the attack itself and where your particular. Usually, those things will come out by affecting one of your particular whatever your weakest aspect is, or a character weakness, or something like that, and come out through that. Generally, they're like putting pressure on something where usually they pop out at a weak spot. So it can all be very different depending on who is getting attacked and what kind of attack is getting happening.
Right. So, for example, the times that I know I've been under psychic attack, one time I was in Toronto staying at a like a flop house, halfway house, can't remember, hostel, I guess is what we called it. And all of a sudden there was this sort of demonic looking creature that suddenly started appearing to me. And I knew I didn't summon it and I had nothing to do with it. And it seemed clear it was after me. I didn't know why, didn't know who did it or where it came from. And I went to Chinatown in Toronto and I saw a figure of a demonish looking creature that looked very much like what I'd been seeing. And so I used that image to sort of connect with the thing that had been sent to me and then send it back to whoever was sending it. And it went away and left me alone. Another time, the crazy women who were reading the Satanic Bible and got mad at me did voodoo dolls hanging, and my husband at the time and my son were both having pain and nightmares and things like that. I wasn't being affected because my natural defenses are fairly strong, so it wasn't affecting me personally, but it was affecting my family. And going to bed one night, I suddenly saw these three uh, poppets hanging with pins in them. And so then I knew that that's what was going on. And so then I sort of put up an alert in my spirit energy or whatever. I'm not sure what to call it, but I sent up an alarm so that the next time that energy came at me, I would recognize it. And it happened one day in the middle of the day. I was standing in my kitchen and suddenly I felt that same energy and I followed it to its source and I saw this woman I didn't know and I actually bound her up and stopped her. And she realized what was happening just at the last second when I did that because it's not okay to attack other people. So those are some of my experiences. In general, I'm not aware of them for myself. So it really does depend on the individual. And the better able you are to be in control of your own energy, to know what your energy is, the more likely you will be able to identify if someone is actually trying to purposefully send negative energy to
And
you.
you have to consider that, a number of the things I experienced that would be or should be probably be considered psychic attacks were not done with any knowledge of the person psychically attacking me. They were just sent to me because somebody was pissed off, kind of a thing. So they weren't knowingly psychically attacking me, but it
Just
was,
and nasty thought
yeah,
forms.
nasty thought forms and stuff that people were having and sending at me, not, unconsciously, not consciously intending to do it, just because their nature. Some people are naturally really projective for that type of thing.
Robert says, can attacks can actually going on without me knowing it? Well, yeah, if you have natural defenses, but then it's not really harming you. It's probably just going straight back to the person who's
Yeah,
doing it.
and a lot of times that's what happens to people who just get angry with you and send a few thought forms your way just out of anger. A lot of those just get rejected, and you don't notice that they even come your way unless you're in a particularly weakened state or something.
Or you just have to be very alert and aware of what's going on. And Jen says, hello, everyone. So happy to be here with you all again. Hi, Jen. Welcome. Teresa says, my attacker was tuning into me today and sensing my energy, then licking it up with his lizard tongue to get his hit. Physically, it feels like cobwebs attacking me. Well, reject it, send it back, whack the tongue. I'd be cutting that tongue off in little bitty pieces, actually, and starting a little fire and sending it back.
Well, yeah, me too.
I'd be making my energy so unpalatable that he wouldn't want to have anything to do with it.
Hit that tongue with a psychic knife or dagger or
Yeah, absolutely.
magical sword. Yeah.
So Robert says, oh, okay, I understand. Siofra, is there a pagan significance to the food of raw honey? I hear a lot of that lately in my life.
Well, it's very useful.
Raw honey is very medicinal. There's enzymes in it that aren't there with heated honey, and you can actually use it on wounds. It will, it doesn't allow bacteria to grow.
So it's a natural preservative.
Yeah, and in ancient Egypt, before they started the mummification process, they used raw honey to preserve bodies, and it kept the body from decaying. So it's quite interesting that way.
They also in China and elsewhere used it as a preservative, especially for ginseng, because ginseng was considered very valuable and worth a lot because of its healing properties. So they would often preserve it in honey and combine the properties of the two for healing.
Raw honey is also the cure for a bee sting. Um, it will actually extract the stinger from the skin. It is good for abscesses and things like that. I've talked to people who've used them on them, where it'll draw stuff out so long as there's still a hole in the skin where the injury took place. If it's already healed up, it's not as effective. And it's pretty amazing stuff. And I think it probably has a natural connection to the bee kingdom because of, being raw and stuff like that. Robert says they say it has huge healing properties. Yep. Grateful Owl says, Teresa. Wow. Yeah. And Ian says, great gifts. He says, I didn't know that about honey. Yeah, I learned that a long time ago, and I can't remember even when, because I remember using the honey for bee stings when my kids were little. So somewhere along the line, I knew it. I don't remember how I came across it, but I certainly used it a lot. But if it's already, pasteurized or whatever, it kills the enzyme that does that particular part of it. It's like everything, it depends on what it is. Robert says, so I guess raw honey has anti-inflammatory properties. Such a good thing to eat, to repair also leaky gut, according to some.
It wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me at
It's one of
all.
the most beneficial things. Yeah.
It's also good for people who have seasonal allergies. If you get the local raw honey, that helps because they'll have small bits of pollen that you're allergic to in the honey, and it sort of works on your system to help make you less sensitive to that. So I hear. Teresa says, I'm making big progress with the problem, though. There is hope. Used to wonder if there was. Well, good. Knowing that there's hope is a huge step forward. I actually had visitors the last couple of nights, and it was kind of interesting because one night, as I was laying there, I think it was actually on Samhain night after we got home, and I suddenly became aware of the fact that I'd been staring at the male she who was standing next to my bed for at least 5 minutes without being aware of the fact that I was looking at him. And it was like this sudden light bulb went off in my head, and I went like, oh, I have been looking at you. You've been here for a while. So I thought that was kind of interesting. And then I got lots of the color lights came back in my head. It was just moving blobs of different vibrant colors and things like that. So I thought that was pretty cool. So I kind of liked that. I'm wondering if maybe he is responsible for that dream I had the other night with all of my creations being sold off and me seeing them together for the first time. Because that was pretty awesome. And Violet says, hi guys, I want to do a safe evocation to a small triangle of the art for a Shem angel. There is not enough space on my floor to sit in a circle, but I can set up a mini version on my tabletop. Thoughts?
Well, you need to be in the circle, and the evocation is supposed to happen outside the circle. So there has to be room for you in the circle wherever it's going to occur. And the triangle you're going to evoke into needs to be outside the circle.
Right. So you could, like, if you're sitting at a table, and you have the triangle on the end of the table, you cast the circle around you.
Yeah, you could just have a circle around your chair if you want. It doesn't have
Yeah.
to be giant.
So there's always room for a circle. Maybe not room for a circle you've drawn on a piece of fabric, but there should be room for a circle for you to be in. Violet says, is it rude to suggest they appear to a smaller space? Can I make this work somehow safely?
Well, I would suggest myself probably if you have a problem with space concerns and that, and also an evocation is one of the more difficult ways to contact them. I would advise trying to do it myself mentally or through a magic mirror first before trying to go the evocation route, because you're picking one of the most difficult methods to succeed at for
Yeah.
contacting a spirit being.
Violet says thank you.
I don't know, I've never tried in a small space. Barden recommends against it and says there needs to be enough room for the being or entity to move around, but then he doesn't say how big they need to be, and I'm not sure I know of any reason they need to have a certain size myself either. So it may be okay. That one I honestly don't know on,
Yeah.
but I do know that evocation is a more difficult way to get a hold of them.
So Jen is trying to say something and has retracted twice. She's trying to figure out how to say whatever it is. You can do it, Jen. We have confidence in you. Teresa says, aura question. Can a person who sees auras perceive it from the outside of a building if the person was sitting very close to the inside wall? Well, I mean, if you have the ability to see aura, you're probably using your clairvoyant abilities, and walls would not necessarily be an impediment in any case, no matter where they were sitting.
Yeah, I'd agree. Just in theory for me though, because I can't see auras myself.
And really, I had a person once freak out because they could not see my aura, and they decided that I was an ally from the Castaneda books. I wasn't human, so you never know. Apparently, my aura was too big.
No, I would beg to differ myself.
Yeah. Jen says, does it matter if you take the honey topically or internally for benefits? Well, topically would be for injury recovery and stuff like that. Internally would be for, the different benefits.
Yeah, externally you can use it for infection and things like that, for drawing something out of an injury, pulling it.
Robert says, I've posted a question, skipped 2 times about bay leaves. Did you see the question? No, we
we
did
did
not
not
see the
see it.
question. Try again. What is your question about bay leaves? I don't know why it didn't show up. YouTube is a mystery some days.
That's true.
Didn't show up as a
So
thing that was
thank you for
blocked.
asking.
But yes,
If anybody else's question gets missed, let us know, because like I say, that one didn't show up at all on mine either. We're in two separate computers here at the same time.
okay, so we'll wait and see what the question about bay leaves is. Maybe YouTube has got a thing against bay leaves. Okay.
So.
Robert says, Siofra, it was about bay leaves' protective power versus mind parasites, yet it was banned 3 times. The astral parasites are here. Well, I don't know how their algorithm works. So, bay leaves are definitely considered protective as far as it goes. I don't know specifically. I would think, if you think that they're going to be good for getting rid of.
Well, it's aromatic and it's an airy plant, and airy plants are good for the mental aspects.
I was thinking about that.
So yeah,
Myrtle leaves and eucalyptus leaves might have similar properties for that, because they're also very aromatic. Myrtle leaves are sometimes used in place of bay leaves in cooking. Yeah.
But if you're using them for that purpose, add to their natural effect by making sure you charge them up with your willpower and will them to be that which you desire them to be.
Well, yeah, you're sort of giving them an instruction manual, like, here's what you're supposed to be doing for me. So this is the part of you, the aspect of your abilities that I want you to focus on manifesting or what have you.
Yeah.
Robert says Julius Caesar wore them around the head. In a text, he said his mind was protected. The Romans knew about those creatures. Well, also, is that sort of like laurel leaves and stuff like that too? The idea of the.
Well, I would think so, but I'm not. I don't know the specifics on why they use laurel leaves in particular.
Or bay leaves instead.
Yeah, the laurel leaves aspect of the sun and Apollo and that. But,
right.
Yeah.
Well, weren't the winners of Olympic Games crowned with laurel
I don't know, honestly.
I think that they were.
I'm not much on history, especially that kind of history.
That's my favorite kind. Mythology that has to do with plants and things. But yeah,
Well, I meant about the Olympics, but
well, there's a lot of mythology associated with the Olympics, like with the golden apple and just using the golden apple to distract. I can't think of her name at the moment. Anyway, Jen says, sorry for the retractions. Oh, Eve says, I thought it had something to do with truth. Ah, the bay leaves,
I think that's probably the laurel leaf she's talking about
the laurel.
because that goes along with the Apollo Sun thing,
Ah,
I think. But yeah, I don't know, honestly.
Jen says, sorry for the retractions. I am typing with one hand while feeding my son and keep accidentally
Which is
sending.
fine. No need to apologize. We just want to make sure,
Robert says, I used to burn bay leaves in my home and I felt suddenly energies that were no longer there. I always remember this. Well, if you have a practical experience with it, then that's good. It's working for you for what you want it to be.
Yeah.
You don't need to get, confirmation from us. If it works for you, that's a good
Slight
thing.
funny story. One time I was trying to make an incense to do a similar kind of thing, but for various reasons. But I tried mixing some peppermint oil in with it for the incense to get the fragrant effect. But peppermint oil was not the right thing. It had the funniest effect. When you burned the incense, it made your eyes cold. Your eyes cold and were burned, so I couldn't really burn it and use it. So this
Yeah.
peppermint oil just got right in the eyes, and they felt really cold. So
That's
it
what
was
they do on your skin when you use peppermint oil on your skin.
it was effective in that sense. But yeah, probably should have used a lot less in the incense
I
I
had a
made.
massage therapist once put that on my back and I thought for sure I was going to freeze to death. She thought it was funny. She put the peppermint oil on me and then a heating pad. And that activated the peppermint oil and made me feel like I was freezing and I didn't like the effect at all. So Beth says, greetings all. Hi, Beth. Robert says, I wanted to share this story because of its success, but also because we don't have to rely always on sage. Well, there's a lot of things we can use besides sage.
Hello, Ambrosia.
Oh, hi, Ambrosia. Sorry. Hello, welcome. Teresa says, I'm amazed that my fear hasn't come back after 2 weeks, but the other night was triggered by something when I was in a vulnerable state. Sisyphus complex. Did a self-love spell and I'm pulling it from my shadow like I did with the fear. Ah, well, that's an interesting thing to do. Jen says, hi, Beth. Robert says, Ambrosia is a great name. Eat some and you will become a goddess. Ambrosia in certain myths were food of the gods. Yes. I think ambrosia was the Greek food of the gods. But yes, it's a great name. Ambrosia says, hi, love that. Thanks. Lovely to catch this live. I was just listening to this. Well, welcome. And I am in Italy. And welcome again. It's always fun. There are bay trees everywhere. That's awesome. It's always fun to have people from different countries showing up. I love it. And then they have things to offer us that we don't know anything about. Robert says, Siofra, are you familiar with the warrior god Radagast? I've heard the name, but not really very familiar. Teresa says, as a technique, this is working for me. As soon as I'm triggered, I'm finding where it is in my shadow and giving it light. Good notion. Ambrosia said, so I use it often, the bay leaves. Robert says, similar to Odin. There are so many gods, goddesses, so many cultures, so many places. It's like, I can't have heard of them all. I know I'm very well versed in a lot of things, but I don't know all of them by name.
Yeah, there's a heck of a lot of.
There's a heck of a lot of them. Howsomever. So we did do do the recording of the reading of um the list of those who were killed during the Inquisition times over 400 or 500 years. It's about 10 minutes. I think it's 10 minutes and 45 seconds long. It'll probably be a little bit shorter when we post it, but I'm going to post it in a couple of different places so people can use it if they want to and not have to get the list themselves for whatever purpose. Robert says, oh, one interesting topic, since you know lots of spirits, do you know a good safe cave so to reach the hollow earth, not the myth of the underworld? No, because there is no hollow earth. Beth says, I was visited on Samhain. My cousin Cord that recently passed came to me. We had such a wonderful time together. Usually Daddy comes through. Happy tears. Aw, I'm happy for you. It's good to be able to connect. Astra says, hey guys. Hi, Astra. Carla says, hi all, tuning in late. Not too bad. We still got a whole hour. Robert says, cool, Beth. Some dude says, my condolences. Well, that's what this time of year is all about, accepting the changes in the life cycle. Some dude says, anyway, hello. Beth says, hi, Jen. Hi, everyone. Carla says, yay, there's still an hour. Robert says, Siofra, you seem to be sure about no hollow earth, but I have had so many journeys, astral, etc., what that I can say, yes, there is. Sorry. Okay. I didn't say that it might not exist on the astral plane. That doesn't mean it's existing in the physical plane just because it has something there. Considering the fact that I ran into an entire astral plane of comic book characters that I know aren't real, that were helping to write the stories that their authors had. And how many books are there on the Hollow Earth? So yeah, I believe that there is an astral realm with a Hollow Earth in it. That doesn't mean it's here. So there. Beth says, Robert, kiss, kiss, moon. Heart kiss, moon. Ian is getting something from a shelf. Robert says, no, no. I was there and not inside an astral world. My spirit was there and it existed in 3D here, if you believe in it. Okay. Go and bring back an artifact. And then maybe I'll believe it. Robert should search for an astral cave. Good one. Astor says, I just had a dream that a human spirit asked if he could be in front of my yard. I said no, because I don't know him or his intent. And he got so upset because I pushed him out of my space. Well, Astra, it is your yard and your boundaries, so too bad if he's upset. At least he asked, but then he has to acknowledge and honor your boundaries. That's the way that works. Ambrosia says, definitely had some odd things happen during Samhain. I double-checked that I had extinguished all candles before bed and woke up on November 1st to find a candle still burning. It was incredible. Glad there was no fire. Robert says, well, the journey is several thousands of miles. Even the Buddhists who tried to go there, they say it takes between 6 and 7 months. Ambrosia says, then a couple of other weird things. Cool. Tell us. We like weird things. We get weird things.
We do.
Yep. We get weird things and we go like, wow, that was weird.
Well, unique. I like the uniqueness, you know.
Yeah.
Weird things are unique, and that's. I'm fond of unique things. I might decide I don't like them later, but I always like unique things to start with just because they're unique.
Well, they make you sit up and go like, huh? How did that happen?
Well, and they keep you from getting stuck in a rut, you know.
That's true.
Which is a tendency I have to get stuck in my constant ways of thinking and that, and they help you like knock you out of that a little bit. So, of course, I don't know about other people, but I kind of seek out that kind of thing. I seek out new experiences. I like learning new things.
Yeah. It helps to keep your mind from getting stagnant. And it helps to keep your mind flexible, I guess. Elasticity and whatnot. Robert says elves know about it. Well, it probably exists in their reality. There's a lot of things. Ambrosia said, again on Halloween and again with the fire. I was boiling water. I then told my son to turn off the stove. He told me it was off. It is impossible. That one freaked me out. Well, to have water boiling without any heat would be pretty unusual, that's for sure. Astra says, he was crying, but I told him to go into the light, poor guy. I feel sad now. I told him to go into the light because my yard is crappy. Better to cross over. He was so upset. That's okay. I had an interesting experience where somebody that I know is having a really super hard time, close to death, I think. And I grabbed her by the head and I yanked her up through all this dark, black, cloudy stuff and up into the light, and then just poured a bunch of light into her head until she cleared up. I have no idea if she knows that it happened or not, or whether she had a memory of it or not, since at the moment we can't seem to communicate, but it was certainly interesting. Try not to take it too seriously, though. Carla says, I don't have anything as interesting as this for my Samhain. All I did was make some magic pine cones. In the process of making them, they're all washed and baked, painting them silver. Ooh, fun. I also understand that finding acorns this time of year is good, and you can put them in your pocket and keep them throughout the winter for good luck or something. Robert says, does the Samhain holiday can have negative residual energy that affect humans right after the holiday is gone? Is that because people can't go until October 10th or something? Can't let go until October 10 or something? I don't know. I mean, I think that people might be reacting to the change in light, the fact that it's getting darker and darker and darker, and that can explain a lot of that kind of stuff. Just physically, it affects our emotional bodies.
Yeah, I wouldn't phrase it that it has any negative residual energy at all. I wouldn't put it that way, but some people can be less in tune with that time of the year for
Well, and
sure.
depending on their belief systems, they may be
Yeah,
terrified of it. So
yeah,
that could generate a bunch of negative consequences from the fear that they have of the idea of having it in some cases. People are complicated.
yeah,
Beth says, me too, Ian. Life is all about the experiences that matter, moments in time, timeless moments.
yeah.
Carla says, I picked some acorns too. Yay. Robert says, oh yeah, by the way, any significance about the food called corn? Corn, acorn. It's an English word, so it probably has zero significance considering the fact that we are a mishmash of all languages put together and randomly thrown into a pile and then dragged out. I have no clue. Teresa says, I did a dark moon ritual outdoors in the nude on Samhain. Good thing it was above zero. Oh, yeah, no kidding. Although if it is below zero, then do a sweat lodge or a sauna first, and then you can be outside in the nude without any problems. I used to do that in the middle of winter when I lived up north.
And I recall reading that they used to use in some of those, they would use a some type of a grease they would make up that would protect from the cold to a certain extent and wear that
Yeah, I have no
in some
idea.
cases for
I just knew that if we went into the sauna down by the river, even though it was 40 below, after it was over, I could just walk barefoot up the path to my house and into the house and sit down for about a half an hour before I had to actually put clothes back on, which was really cool. I liked that. That was kind of neat.
yeah, well, this was something I read that witches used to do, but I don't know whether to believe it or not because you read some of the original information from like Gerald Gardner and stuff when they were really forming up what we call Wicca and witchcraft and such today. Um, they didn't have all that much genuine inherited knowledge that was passed along. There was some with the group of witches that Gerald Gardner was associated with, but so I don't know if I take a lot of those theories and stories, kind of as a bit of mythology too, because really we lost a lot of that real knowledge.
And Robert says, I agree, Teresa. Sounds attractive already. Carla says, maize. Robert says, corn seed. Well, yeah, corn seeds are good. I don't know anything specific about them, except that maize was an important plant. Asher says, my place is a fairy disco, not an Airbnb for lost human souls.
Yeah, I will point out that there was some corn magic that was used, which is mentioned, where they put an energy into a kernel of corn, and then your enemy passes over it or steps. You put it where your enemy steps on it, and the bad energy that you put into the corn kernel enters into the person.
That sounds like hoodoo.
Yeah, that was no. I think that's a form of dark, some form of tribal or Native American type of thing. There, I'm not sure.
Robert says, maize? Nah, but grains is also heavy on Wiccan legends of protective food. Well, it was the thing that kept you alive during the winter. It would be very important. And in a lot of the rituals, like in the equinox, the fall equinox ritual, eating raw corn is eating the body of the god. So that's where sort of that comes from.
And it's kind of funny
Yeah.
when when we started showing people they could eat raw corn, everybody freaked out. It's like, no, you got to cook it. It's like, no, it's great raw on the kernel.
I don't know if we
But
were like, dancing with the devil
but
or.
it's amazing how much people freaked out. It was like you kind of get it when people freak out about sushi. It's like, oh, it's raw fish, but like raw corn is just a vegetable. It's like, come on. And
Yeah,
it actually tastes great
very
raw.
sweet.
Yes.
I like it raw.
Yeah.
Beth says, I absolutely love the darker days. My familiar is a black panther, a prehistoric panther. So is mine. And one of mine. Kind of interesting, we have so many things in common, Beth. Carla says, I stay away from corn in the States. Robert says, what? I have a black panther myself for spiritual guide. Beth? Oh, there's three of us now. Carla says, if we're talking about actually eating it, yes, we are. I am. Robert says, my panther back years ago appeared, and her purpose for me was to learn to say no. Grateful Owl says, the use of corn is also in some indigenous stories. Lewell says, my grandmother would sit in a sauna and then jump into a snow pile for health. Yeah. Yeah. We had some crazy
Well,
people
not
in the
me.
sauna.
I'm sorry. Saunas, I'm all
Well,
for.
I mean,
Jumping in the snow afterwards, not for
the
me.
thing that got me, we had some people that jumped into the river after we cut a hole in the ice. And the water in the river is not freezing. So it's actually the warmest thing around when it's minus 40. And then other people use snow on themselves, which was actually sometimes colder than the air because it had been sitting around for so long. Yeah, I had a friend who did the rolling around in the snow, and I thought she was definitely insane. So Robert says Capricorn equals corn equals horn, LOL. Yeah, that's another one of those English things. We like to make connections when there's none. I love wordplay, he says. Beth says Robert, kindred spirits. Lula says, hi, by the way. Hi, Lula. I noticed you were here. Robert says, ah, yes. That's it. You put an intention into the corn specimen. Sandcat says, hello, Siofra, Ian, and everyone. I've missed you all. Hi, Sandcat.
Hi, Sandcat.
Robert says, yes, we are, Beth. Very interesting. Corn? Raw? Yes, thanks. Food of the gods. A million thanks. That is it. Asher says, laugh out loud. Raw corn is a gateway drug.
I agree.
Robert says, I will perform a ritual using corn. Beth says, I love it. Sanget says, raw corn is so good. Grateful Owl says, I like eating a potato raw sometimes. It does taste good too. Yeah, raw potatoes, though,
Yeah,
have toxins in them, so
they
be
don't do
careful.
anything for me, but
Oh, there is a toxin in the skin, so be careful of raw potatoes. Carla says, I like raw potatoes too, just not in large quantities. Beth says, yes, we do, Siofra, so much alike. My soul sister. Asher says, this is like a secret club. I've never had raw snow. I mean corn. You know you can't survive on snow, right? It'll dehydrate you. Robert says, born to be a corn, rock and roll corn. In 4 minutes, we will all be cooking instead of streaming. Sandcat says, isn't potato from the nightshade family? Yes, it is.
tomato is too, isn't it?
Yes, so is a tomato.
I've got to go get an antihistamine.
Okay, see you in a minute. Grateful Owl says, without the skin and green spots. Well, yeah, it's the green on it that's the bad part, I think. Carlos says, yeah, we shouldn't eat them raw. It's like, but, different people have got different tastes and so forth and bodies. And we were just talking about this the other day with food poisoning because I don't know if all of you know this or not. I learned this from a naturopathic physician that I worked with for a while. If you think you have eaten contaminated food, the first thing you should do is to take some probiotics and take a lot of them. I have a bottle of, I call it acidophilus, but I know there's all the other stuff in it because that's what they used to just call it in the beginning. And I'll take like 4 of them. And if it is food poisoning, a specific kind anyway, within about 20 minutes, the nausea will be gone. Um, so it's something to know about in case you ever need it, and it can work and save your life in some cases because the natural gut bacteria that you have that's good will eat the bacteria that causes food poisoning. And I think that's the reason why when I had a really bad case of food poisoning, it was me, my husband at the time, and his brother. And we all ate the same really bad food. Um, and I was sick almost immediately because my system is much more alert to things that are bad for me. So within an hour, I started vomiting. My husband was sick about 6 or 7 hours later, and his brother never got sick at all. So my assumption is his brother had a lot of really healthy gut bacteria, and so it didn't affect him. So things affect all of us differently depending on our own personal systems and so forth, and our health and where we're at, and maybe our genetics, etc. too, I guess. I don't know. Anyway, Carla says no skin for me. Robert says the horror movie called Invasion of the Evil Corns. Teresa says, is this a cooking show? Where am I? Sandcat says, I bought a really good book this week, The Poison Path Herbal. Ooh, good thing to know what's poisonous. Robert says, I like herbs and also essential oils. Grateful Owl says, thank you, Siofra. Carla says, that's good information. Sandcat says it's about baneful herbs, medicinal nightshades, and ritual entheogens. Carla says, sweet acidophilus? Well, I don't know. I mean, acidophilus is actually the name of one of the bacteria. So, they have so many different names. So, I don't know. But, between the honey and the cure for food poisoning, I think we're doing pretty good here, right? And it's okay to eat raw corn and not okay to eat too many raw potatoes. Is it like milk? No. I mean, they sometimes put it in milk, I guess. They have like yogurts, they're supposed to have it in it. Although I think that the amount of live cultures in a thing of yogurt is probably minimal compared to how much you get in a capsule. Ian once actually broke one of our capsules apart, liquefied it, looked under a microscope, and watched as the little buggers came alive and started wiggling around under the microscope.
Which is kind of freaky because you go, we're sticking these things in our gut, you know?
Yeah. And Sandcat says acidophilus is great while taking antibiotics. Yeah, because antibiotics kill them off, and you need to replenish them, otherwise the funguses take over. Robert says, Siofra, if I burn a paper containing my wish on it, if I burn it, do I have to visualize or stare at a candle flame at the same time? Is there like a third eye method also?
Well, you should charge it up. Okay, you get it charged up. You got your wish on it, and you put that energy into it. Then when you burn it, you visualize it going. That your energy, your wish itself, is actually getting taken out into the element of fire and spreading through where it can work for you in that sense. So yes, you want to transfer your wish is getting transferred into the fire when you burn it directly. So you want to have that in mind. And then the fire element will go on and fulfill your wish, whatever it might be.
So Beth says, I missed comments. Cats always want to eat on our time. They hear my voice and they go like, food? Asher says, wow. Lewell says, working on my own notes from different books, information sources, so I have it all in one place. Not exactly a book of shadows, mostly a reference book. I have a lot of those. when I do a research topic on something, I end up with an entire notebook on that. Grateful Owl says, I need to get myself a bag of fried sour cream and onion nightshades. Carla says, 30 plus years ago, I used to buy it in a carton in the milk aisle at the store for my cat, but I can't remember why I had to give it to her. Huh, interesting. Well, maybe they did have it in that form. It's just something I never saw. Jen says, that's great information about the probiotic, Siofra. Thank you so much. Back to the bay leaves. In Spanish, bay leaves are called hojas de laurel, which literally means laurel leaves. So I wonder, there's definitely related to each other, I'm sure. If laurel and bay leaves are the same tree. I don't know if they're the same tree or
Well,
not,
there's a
but they're
bay
probably,
laurel.
yeah, there's a bay laurel.
Um,
He's going to do a quick Google and see. Sandcat says at Grateful Owl, yes, yummy. Robert says, Schieffer, were you ever visited by the spirit of a very popular person? No. No Mozart or you know, I did see Edgar Casey once, but I think that was a past life memory.
so
Um,
yeah, the bay laurel is the type of laurel that makes the bay leaves. So
okay,
they
so
are a
bay and laurel
laurel.
are
Yes,
basically the same.
yes. In
It
some
is a
cases,
laurel.
but you can have a laurel that's not a bay leaf. That's
Okay, so some
not
laurels are
spicy.
not bay, but all bays are laurels. Is that what we're getting?
Pretty much, yeah.
Lewis says, I know from experience that burning a piece of paper with a wish and threw it in the glass of champagne and drinking this at midnight on New Year. Cool. Throwing it, yes. Robert says, bananas are awesome for healing the gut if someone here needs a hint. I did that and it worked real fast too. Yay! The bunny really likes bananas. Beth says, oh, my loves, I made a year's worth of laundry detergent yesterday. $20. Robert says, Beth? And Teresa says, I have been visited by famous people after they've passed. I seem to be a light that attracts all types of past spirits. I chat with them a bit and send them on their way. Jen says, some questions from this chat. How does one learn what their animal guides are? Why does one get naked for certain rites rituals? Is it necessary? Sorry for my ignorance. I have a lot to learn. Okay, so um, how you learn what your animal guides are, they come to you. I think that is the answer to the question. So I don't know completely. Um, I've met them in my dreams. I've met them on my spirit walks and guided meditations and so forth, um, and that kind of thing. The getting naked for certain rites and rituals, the idea of nakedness is initially the idea that we are all equal and the same before the goddess. And when different classes of people would get together, you know, the wealthy and the peasant and so forth, taking off all their clothes sort of reinforced the fact that they were equal no matter what their station might be. And also, you get that kind of energetic stuff from the skin contact and so forth. And some people really like that. I don't know that it's absolutely necessary.
No, I'd say it's not necessary at all as far as being necessary yet.
Yeah,
It can be used, but it depends on so many factors, especially if you're talking about being naked in a group as compared to being solo or alone.
right. I think it really does depend.
Yeah.
Astor says, I'm always skeptical when people claim they see all these celebrities on the other side. Well, I'm not interested in them when I'm alive, so, and when they're alive. So I'm not that interested in them when they're dead, I guess.
Before we step away from this animal guides thing, I just thought I would mention that I was sitting meditating one day and I got an image of Coyote walking up to me and looking at me and sniffed me for a minute and then said, I am your totem animal, and then walked off. And so that was pretty much how I knew Coyote was my totem. So, uh, and that it will also happen that if it's right and it's not just your imagination or something, it should accurately, if it's something like that, it's supposed to be a spirit guide, it should accurately fit in with your life and that. I mean, Coyote explains a number of things about me, the aspects of coyote, the mythical coyote, like Way Coyote, uh, and that. So it'll fit with you and it'll be right. In my case, as a spirit animal, it's an aspect of what people would call my holy guardian angel. I don't know that everybody's spirit guides are, but that particular one of mine, anyway. Are you having an issue there?
Well, I can't see myself anymore, so I'm
Oh,
wondering if I'm still there. So Violet says, "What brand do you buy on Acidophilus?" I buy whatever looks like it's the best thing. Okay, good. I'm still there. Did you say you take four when you think you get sick? Yeah, you don't want to take just one. You want at least four of the capsules. Robert says, Siofra, did you have dreams about secret space programs or aliens in nature? Um, I was on a spaceship the other night. Yeah, I have dreams about that kind of stuff from time to time. Not usually secret space programs, though. And yeah, Jono says, hi, bye. Love you guys. Hi, bye.
bye.
Thank you for dropping in and saying hello and goodbye. Arla says, do your animal guides change? Well, see, it depends on certain factors. Like you can interact with and choose an animal guide at certain points in your life if you need their help. And that's what I did when I lived up in the valley. I chose the bear to teach me about being a parent, protecting, having boundaries with my children and with others. I needed to tap into the power that the bear represented when I lived up there. And the bear is a spirit guide as well. I mean, there's like different kinds. So my animal spirit guides are the panther and the bear, and my totem animals are the bear and the deer. And so, it's and they're slightly different. A totem animal is like an animal that represents an essential part of your nature, like the coyote does for Ian. That's definitely his totem. Um, and the deer was definitely mine from the beginning. I'd had total strangers that would tell me that my eyes looked like a deer's eyes. It was so common that it seemed pretty obvious at some point. And both the deer and the bear are medicine animals in different native cultures, and that makes sense for me as well. So yeah, I mean, I get along with a lot of the different animals, and certainly they'll interact with me. I interact with a lot of different kinds of birds, and I've had a hummingbird come up and zoom right in front of my face, and of course the crows and ravens and so forth interact with. So it's like difficult to sort of completely quantify. It depends. Beth says, I have Elvis. Now, no, I'm from Mississippi and my mom was friends with him. He's dead and so misunderstood, but he does like young girls. I was a child, so he treated me like his daughter. Oh, so Elvis visits you now that he's dead? Cool. Carla says, robins and blue jays seem to be extremely attentive. Robert says, interesting, Beth. Teresa says, for my ritual, it was about making a true commitment and proving my seriousness to the goddess. And vulnerability and openness, I think. Jen says, wow, that's so cool, Beth. Lulu says, I've only been visited by dead relatives or friends. I don't enjoy these experiences, but willing to deal with people I know and love. Visitation is denied from my end for everyone else. And you are perfectly allowed to do that for sure. And I applaud you having boundaries. Beth says, Robert, that man would give you the shirt off his back for you. Robert says, do animal guides come from our life energy or really theirs? Well, I think I sort of answered that question as best as I could. Carla says, a red-tailed hawk dropped a feather after I said hello. That seems a pretty good indication. And the raven gave me that magic feather when we were down at the power spot. The white feather that fell out of the sky that turned into a black raven feather when it landed. That was pretty spectacular and very different. Not normal at all. Sandcat says, I rescued a baby bunny a month ago. It didn't survive. I buried it in the park where I found it. Ever since I've been seeing so many bunnies. They hop past me when I'm in the forest. Makes me happy. I like bunnies. They're so cute.
Yeah, we saw some wild bunnies one time out here on the coast. It was fun.
Yeah, the sun was just setting and there was all these teensy little daisy-like flowers in this field, and they all were coming out from the bush around, and they would run out and eat these little flowers and then run back in. I'm worried about birds coming and getting them.
That was cool though.
Asher says, "That's so cool. I want to meet my totem animal." It'll probably happen, I'm sure. Jen says, "That's awesome, Carla." Robert says, "Siofra, I have the ashes of my mother. Is there a simple ritual I can do to call in her spirit using these ashes?" You can talk and commune with people who've crossed over without ashes at all. So you can certainly use it, like, make a little altar with a picture of her and her ashes and stuff there and have a conversation. It helps you to focus on her energy. I don't think it's a necessity in order to be able to have a communication with somebody who's crossed over to the other side. Sometimes you just know things, though. So whatever feels right. Teresa says, "A ritual I came up with to meet animal guides. I went to each chakra and waited for an animal to appear. There was a different animal for each one, and then I interpreted the message each had."
Yeah, I'd like to mention that I haven't seen that from anybody else, but my spirit animals are also associated with my different chakras and represent different aspects of my guides, my spirit guides, and that.
So Shay says, "You're definitely still there, Lady Shifra." Thank you, Shay. Beth says, "Usually your first encounter with your familiar, it will try to kill you or instantly make the bond." Okay, I'm glad none of mine tried to kill me. when when I met my panther, there were two of them in this dream that I had. A woman in my dream reality, this was when I lived down in Santa Cruz, was trying to attack me apparently with and sent these two black panthers after me. And that was a huge mistake because that was definitely not going to work on me. And when they came at me, they recognized me and then they sat around my feet. And when she came around the corner, she saw me standing there with her panthers, and then she left. I was very happy. I thought, that's pretty cool. I like that. So yeah. And if something dangerous is going on, they'll suddenly appear in my room and start walking around or growling or whatever to warn me of danger. So they're a pretty good early warning system for potential psychic attacks, I guess. Carla says, "Jen, that was one of the most mystical things I've ever experienced." I bet. Robert says, "Beth, that is scary. Shifra is already a goddess when she crosses." Beth says, "Thank you." Astra says, "Ha, that's cool, Shifra. Of course the aliens like you." Teresa says, "Beth, a goddess or something close. She is so fine." Oh, I'm going to blush. Jen says, "Love Carla, love life. It's so magical and beautiful." Robert says, "Teresa, how did you visit your chakras?" I'm assuming with your mind, but we'll let her explain. Misty says, "Hi, I just recently found you and really enjoying the wisdom you are sharing here." Well, welcome, Misty, and thank you for participating and letting us know that you're there. We appreciate that.
Yep.
Asher says, "Yep, Beth." Jen says, "Thank you, Shifra. That makes sense. I was thinking that maybe it had to do with being like in a state of when we were born, since we come out naked."
Now, in some specific cases, for some Western Hermetic rituals and ceremonial stuff, they do use it for exactly that purpose. In fact, even the Masonic third degree uses nudity for that one aspect, which is supposedly why they wouldn't let women in, because who knows, they might go mad if they saw a naked man, or a man might go mad if they saw a naked woman. I don't know, but
Yeah, because they have no
that was
self-control.
why they had to form the, what is it, the Eastern Star or whatever the
Yep,
Masons call it for the women.
for the
But yes,
women to give
so
them something to do and take care
there
of
is
them.
there is a Western ceremonial ritual with that specifically as its purpose, as like coming out of being reborn.
Astra says, yep, Beth. Jen says, thank you, Siofra. That makes sense. I was thinking that maybe it had to do with being like in a state of when we were born since we come out naked.
Yeah.
I think my guides may be birds then, as they seem to be what I see mostly, like the peacocks I kept seeing. But yeah, that was pretty cool when you kept seeing the peacock. Carla says, that's spirit talking, isn't it? I think so. Robert says, Siofra, what is a bird omen? This week was crazy. I had one in front of me from ravens, from pigeons, and an eagle all in the same week.
Now, an eagle, that's pretty nice.
Yeah, eagle
That's
is pretty
pretty rare.
cool. Um, well, that's the thing. Is like omens are very individual. So if they're trying to get your attention, there's something they want you to see and notice, I would assume. I mean, I've had the crows warn me when something was trying to get after me, like, you know, they did one day. And then another time, they actually were warning me about a man who was walking up the street. And I didn't see him because I was bent over in the garden working on the flower garden. And all of a sudden, all the crows started landing and yelling. So I looked up and I saw the man. And they wanted me to be aware of the fact that he was in my area. Not that he was going to necessarily do anything, but they just thought I needed to know. So really, it's going to depend. There's all these memes out there about, you find this feather, that feather, what it means, and so forth, and I ignore that in general. But maybe they want to develop a relationship with you, and that's a way of getting your attention to pay attention.
Could be. I find that omens are more personal, and you kind of got to figure out what they mean to you specifically.
Carla says, Jen, it really can be. And Jen says, love your story, Ian. That is so
Thank you.
beautiful. Love you guys so much and appreciate your willingness to share your experiences with us. I am truly grateful to you both. I learned so much from you all. Well, thank you. And that's the thing is like, we're hoping to encourage open communication and conversation. When I lived up in the Kispiox, people would tell me the wildest things. And they would preface it with, I've never told this to anyone else in my life. And I'm like, you guys really need to start talking to each other because you would not believe how many people have had a similar experience to you. But yeah, so definitely communication is important and being heard. I mean, how many times do we have things that are confusing and we don't understand what's going on? And what's the worst thing is when you try to tell someone about it and they dismiss it offhand. So
Yeah.
Teresa says wild baby bunnies don't need rescuing. The mother leaves them when they are very young and they learn to fend for themselves. Carla says, Siofra, that was the best explanation of the difference between totem and spirit animals. Cool. Beth says, Robert, Alice, so abused is a child. Um, Especially after my mother accidentally killed my father. The cup bottle, Coke bottle, and dealing with abilities that frightened my family, plus a black figure that turned my top as a child and toast up to it, and it left me alone. Nothing scares me anymore. Okay, I think there were some typos in there, but so I'm assuming that you were protected by not protected. Let's see. Wow, your father accidentally, or your mother accidentally killed your father. Okay. And yeah, dealing with abilities that frighten your family is always fun. I've had that. And really, nothing scares me anymore either, so yay. Barbara says, Beth, I wish I had those abilities times 10. My panther was in front of me. It was not in a dream or an altered state of mind. It was in my morning routine, and it was in front of me. I could see it for a minute. I was in my heart's energy then. Yep. My granddaughter has a spirit animal that's been with her since she was born, and I'm the only other person who sees it besides her. And if she's in a really bad state, she can't see her spirit animal. But when she starts to clear her mind and things start to get normalized and stuff again, she starts to see her again. So yeah, it's like it can be interesting. Beth says, oops, misspelled. Teresa says, with my mind just tuned into each chakra and waited for the visions. Yeah, and that's what we do in the sacred tree meditation. part of that exercise is putting your mind in each chakra and breathing into that chakra. There's yoga exercises where you do the same thing. Like when I was doing hatha yoga, the goal is for the least active exercise to become the most active exercise you do, and the most active exercise to become the least active. So when I was, just laying there, not moving, and doing that particular pose, I was like going through my chakras and making myself aware of my breathing without changing my breathing, which is a hard thing to accomplish. And, doing all these different exercises and so forth. But from the outside, it looked like I was just laying there doing nothing. So I guess appearances can be deceiving. Beth says, Teresa, perfect love. Robert says, impressive, Teresa. Did it take a long time? Grateful Owl says, seeing an eagle is usually good luck. And also, actually, eagle feathers are grounding. I was surprised to hear that or to find that out. I was in a sweat lodge and I was like leaving my body. And the medicine woman who was leading the sweat handed me an eagle feather. And I thought, great, I can get to fly now. Bam, it brought me straight back to the ground. I was amazed and disappointed. That was interesting, though. Teresa says, I usually will do a meditation like that for at least an hour, Robert. And Robert says, thanks, Siofra and Grateful Owl. Wow, okay, thanks, Teresa. It takes a lot of practice, indeed. I used to do it every time I went to bed at night because I had the voices in my head telling me how to do it. So I've been practicing that since I was probably about 6, I'd say, getting into my chakras. Beth says, my grandfather was dying in 1936, and Al was in the big tree by our plantation. It left when he took his last breath. So that sounds like a family omen. Teresa says, Robert, you can try to lucid dream and then meditate in your sleep. That sounds like a good use of time, right? Grateful Owl says, maybe use that eBird app, become a birder, you'll be contributing to science. Astra says, I attract crows and owls, but I'm afraid of owls because someone told me they were gray aliens in disguise. I think that was a TV show that told them that. In fact, that's a Resident Alien, is where they say that owls are actually aliens in disguise. So I don't know where they got it from, but
it's a funny show.
It's a very funny show, but it's not true. They're actually owls. But other people are afraid of them because they think they're a death omen.
Yeah, well, I think a lot of that just derives from the fact that they fly at night, and that gave rise to a lot of superstitions that gave
And
them
they're
kind of a
totally
bad name.
silent.
Yeah, yeah.
You can't hear them coming. They just appear out of thin air because they're very, very slow. They're very, very quiet.
Yeah.
Robert says, I will try, Teresa. Thanks for sharing this. Astra says, when I was having a lot of UFO activity last summer, owls were packed in the trees in front of my place. Robert says, I had a First Nations spider spiritual guide, but this spirit was very, very hard to follow. Okay. Beth says, I would love all of us to communicate via P.O. boxes, emails. You're my real family. Oh, thank you, Beth. Sandcat says, this bunny had been attacked by an animal, so it absolutely needed rescue. Yes. Well, it's your personal experience, so you know better what the circumstances were. Robert says, same for me, Beth. Do you want my email? There are also other platforms in which we could reach out. Beth says, are you on Facebook? I have a new phone and I haven't learned it yet. I'm an technotard. Robert says, Siofra, I did research on empaths and seems that we attract narcissists, so much so that it's almost the only humans we see or gonna see in our lives. Well, you don't have to stay that way. I don't have a narcissist living with me. But yes, they're attracted to empaths because they like to feed off our emotions and manipulate us, and they think it's really funny to see if they can trick us. So you got to get smarter than them.
Yeah.
That says, why fly? I run, then move like I'm swimming. When I fly, I run, then move like I'm swimming. I do a lot of jumping when I'm starting to fly in my dreams. I'll like jump up and start to float and then come back down, and then the next time I float up I'm a little bit higher, and each time I get higher and I get up high enough I catch a breeze, and then I can like drift. Just so fun.
With me in my dreams, I'm usually using my willpower to hold myself up as I fly along.
Luo says, lion and a bear have been my protectors. I am weak naturally and need them. Well, I'm glad you have some strong protectors. Esther says, I got a lot of voices in my head too. Robert says, this is my Facebook page. Beth says, owls just help you cross. Robert says, or bats. Hecate has bats. Luo says, we love owls. Especially my son loves them, almost obsessed with them. Well, owls are also sacred to Athena, so.
And they're so cute.
They are so cute. I love seeing they're getting their little head scritches, and they just go like, yeah, they just like zone out. I was getting the bunnies some head scritches. We had a fun thing night before last. I noticed that the bunny's food dish was a little bit, low, so I went and got his bag of pellets. And I went out there and he knew what I was doing and he knew his food dish was low and he was very excited and he kept running around in a circle around my feet and then stopped in front of his food dish to look. And there wasn't any food in there yet. And then he ran around me again while he's waiting for me to put the food in. And then the next morning, he was so happy and excited. He ran around again when he got up. And then when I got up, he did the same thing. He just was running around. He was doing jumps and just, yeah, he was pretty cute.
That's very cute. Yeah, he runs out and runs around our feet now.
Yeah. Make figure eights around you. The cat doesn't like that when he does it to the cat because he did it to the cat. And the cat's like, what the heck are you doing? Smack. Yeah. But anyway. Let's see. Lou says, we love owls, especially my son loves them, almost obsessed with them. Beth says, but that's my culture. I live in the Smoky Mountains of East Tennessee now. Asher says, I got rid of all the narcs. I have a narc-free policy. Beth says, Ian's your perfect match. It's so cute to feel the energy. Well, he is. Robert says, so it's true. They are attracted to our energies. Horrible universe flaw, if you ask me. It cannot all be all for learning. Life passes by in the meantime. And me too, Astra. A narc-free policy. Narcissist, I guess, not narc. Yes, I have one of those as well. I can identify them pretty well at this point. Robert says, where do you wish to reach out, Beth? Astra says, I had a dream I was jumping and flying over green mountains and rescuing my friends and fighting evil trolls, and I had a party with elves. In this dream, I was a witch flying.
I like more fun than my dreams.
That sounds like a lot of fun. Grateful Owl says, the Malaysian eagle owl looks like a Furby. They are my favorite owl with their big ear tufts. Robert says, cats are so independent. Astor says, this was years before I knew I was a witch. Well, cool. Well, apparently you knew you were a witch. You just didn't know that you knew. Robert says, yeah, sometimes we don't detect those narcissists. Sometimes it's too late, or timing is bad, or they're super covert. Well, they can trick even the most astute of us. So Beth says, I'm a narcissist slayer now, sadly. Beth, how do you slay them, says Robert. Well, you don't give them any joy. They just sort of shrivel up and go away, don't they?
You mean I can't attack them with my magic sword?
If they saw us
I
running.
guess I would be using a physical sword.
Yeah, attacking them with a magic sword, yeah, it could be seen as a potential assault and could end up in the Huskow, Probably not so great, but.
Magical dagger, then?
Your astral dagger. You can attack them with that. You make yourself not tasty. They're after food. I mean, really, it gives them joy and pleasure. And it's so funny because they're always presenting themselves as the victim in their relationship. And yet they are not. Robert says, okay, draw a sword. Right now, slashing through their astral body, bump body, 3D. Sandcat says, I'm almost 50 and I have just cut loose my parents who are both narcissists. Funnily enough, I don't feel good about it. Well, that's because you're programmed that you're supposed to respect and honor them regardless of how they treat you. Isn't that what all the movies, TV shows, and religion and whatnot tells you? It drives me crazy when we're watching TV shows and someone has a negative relationship with a parent and another character is going like, you're going to be sorry if you don't make up with them because after they're dead, it'll be too late. Really, you need to pay attention to them. I'm going like, no, don't do it. And they're not listening to me. Anyway. Jen says, I used to dream of flying when I was little. The dreams were so real, I truly believed that I could do it if I jumped just right. Hmm, me too. Robert says, food? So they are perverts. Can't they feed on some nice energy instead? Apparently not. Bev says, Siofra, I have to send you the best Happy Bunny video. Your heart will smile. I would love to see it. Esther says, they're so weird because they act like they want to be friends with me, but then they just want to bully me, then be nice to me. It's so creepy how they pretend. Yeah, I know. It sort of makes creepy crawly all over your skin, doesn't it? Misty says they feed on your attention and admiration. They can't find it in themselves. Yeah, talk about a black hole. They're a walking black hole of attention seeking. Jen says, I wonder if there's a connection to the dreams of flying and seeing birds. I don't know, but I certainly like it. Robert says, Astro, many times I sense their foul energy. Ha ha. FOWL. Play on words. Jen says, I am so disconnected from myself and nature. I'm trying so hard to be whole. Well, nature will be there when you're ready. And, it's embracing and forgiving, and it's not going to judge how good you are at being in nature. So don't, try not to worry, just do your best. Lulu says the best thing is to walk away from a narcissist and not give them any food. If they won't starve, they'll find someone else to feed on. I know, that's the problem. They just keep on going along. Lulu says, I still dream of flying. It says, Sandcat, I support you. My mother was the worst. Yeah, we've had our share of bad parents. His mother, my father.
Yeah.
I seriously, after when my father died, me and one of my sisters, we had a party. My other sister and my brother were sad because they had forgiven him. It's like, okay, but the world's a safer place now that he's not in it. And, it's like that whole thing about honor thy father and thy mother and all this other stuff. And I'm like, excuse me, did they earn it? I don't think so. Of course, my father's idea of respect was fear. If you didn't fear him, you didn't respect him. So he did his best to make us scared of him, and it worked. Beth says, Sandcat, I support you. I did that already. Carla says, I used to dream of flying when I was little too. I'd swing super high and jump off and yell, Almighty Isis. And in my dream, the swing seat and I fly over the rooftops. Ooh, Almighty Isis. I love that. Jen says, I love owls too. They're fascinating creatures. Robert says, in the name of the Holy Cat, I now send away all narcissists to leave this earth and stay on a planet called Sounds like that guy from the fifth dimension or whatever that harasses Superman. Teresa says, I used to have a dog who believed he could jump way up the tree to get the squirrel. Boy, did he try. I was impressed. I have seen there are some dogs who can climb trees, but so can goats. Goat climb trees. It's bizarre. Sandcat says it. Beth, thank you. Teresa says, believed. Yes. Robert says, Teresa, ha ha. Or laugh out loud. Grateful Owl says, narcissists are sensitive. You just need to know what inflates their ego in order to pop it.
Very true.
Gaga says, I was thinking of creating a thought form that can help me astral project instantly. I was thinking a horse symbolizing transportation. Is that possible? If it's in your imagination, anything is possible. I mean, I flew to the moon on the back of a dragon in a guided meditation, and that was way cool, and I've done it since. He's my moon dragon. He's nice green, small enough for me to get on his back, and he knows the way to the moon, no problem. He's very friendly. Robert says, you're right, Grateful Owl. Astra says, I wrote the fairies a note saying to have fun at their fairy party. I was kind of sad that I didn't get an invite, but that time they had a party in my room dancing in a circle. I got scared. And I told them to leave. Ha! Robert says 666 means what?
Sonny.
That's right.
That's what Crowley said before his trial. Just call me Sonny.
It's the number of the sun, not the beast. And Robert says 777 means Thelema, question mark?
Well, that's debatable, but Crowley does a big thing on on all the meanings of thelema and all that. Spelled in what? Greek or Latin? Greek, I think. Thelema. It's the theta. That's Greek, right?
Yeah.
Or is theta Latin?
No, theta is Greek.
Okay.
Alpha, beta.
Yeah.
Astra says they were celebrating my Kundalini rising, so that was actually a kind gesture. I was just too freaked out to appreciate the parties, but now I'm like, wow, that's actually cool. What was my problem? Sandcat says, bye. I'll see you all next week.
Bye,
Bye,
Sandcat.
Sandcat. Thank you for coming. Beth says, well, whether anyone likes Crowley or not, he did put in the work. Robert says, Siofra,
Yeah.
a Halloween question. Did you like the TV show The Addams Family? Yes, I did. The original, and I like the movies too, the remakes.
I never actually watched the original, but I find the stuff nowadays fun. The Wednesday and that.
I love Wednesday.
Yeah.
They're doing a great job with that. Beth says, Sandcastle. Robert says, true, Beth. Grateful Alice says, take care, Sandcat. Robert says, take care. Yes, be safe.
Yeah, one thing not to diss Crowley about is to ever mistake that he wasn't serious about it. If there's one thing about Crowley, he was very serious about what he did, regardless of all the rest of the obfuscation and rumors and bad press that built up around him.
True. Robert says, take care. Beth says, sending love to everyone. Robert says, also, the Munsters were cool. Yep. Robert says, sending love to you. Carla says, see you next week, Sandcat. SL says, hi, all. Hi, SL. Beth says, kiss, 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 kiss. Asher says, I liked the one with Joan Cusack. She was hilarious. SL says, laugh out loud. I'm super late. I know you are. But, we also had a time change, so we were also super late. If it had been yesterday, we would have been an hour late. Because they went and turned the clock back on us while we were sleeping. Our stomachs did not like that at all. We had to eat early because we were hungry. It's going to take us at least a week or more to adapt to the time change so we eat at our usual time again.
Yeah.
We'll have to slowly work our way into it. So,
and the animals,
yes.
They don't care for time change.
Asher says, I liked Agatha all along. Has anyone watched that? Yes, we watched the whole thing. I thought it was interesting. I enjoyed it.
I thought it was pretty fun, but I was a little disappointed in a little bit of what I felt was the loss of the Marvel approach and a little bit too much of what I thought was a Disney approach, but then that's just me. I got tired of seeing all the references to the Green Witch and the Wizard of Oz and everything in there, though now knowing the ending, it's less, I'm less offended by that now.
Yeah, so we're not going to say the ending because we don't want any spoiler alerts. Robert says, I did, Astra. Beth says, love her. Lulu says, have a great week, everybody. Okay, bye, Lulu. Astra says, Agatha was such a turd, but I loved her. Carla says, the only thing that bothered me about Crowley is the effect it had on him. At least I'm assuming his practice helped his addiction along. Maybe it's not so great with certain mindsets. Actually, his addiction was because of his health problems, his asthma.
Doctors got it started.
And at the time, that's what they used, heroin, to treat asthma. And then he would try to get off the heroin.
Yeah, and he'd go to cocaine, and he'd wean himself off on these, try and get off on these other drugs, and then it wouldn't work, and he'd go back on it. In fact, he made a concerted attempt that he wrote down in a diary to get off it, but he did not succeed in breaking his habit.
Yeah, they didn't have any other treatments for his condition, and I wonder, since he was a mountain climber, if maybe that is why he ended up with asthma.
It might have been related. Because
it could have been altitude sickness that got it started.
Yeah, because he didn't have asthma when he started, and he did a lot of serious mountain climbing, including like K2 and some real serious mountains and things. So myself, I think it was probably related, but I don't know really. Yeah.
I mean, they used to have cocaine in Coca-Cola, so it's not like it wasn't used as a food and medicinally for a long time before we found other things to replace it with. Carla says, always the damn doctors. Beth says, that's true, Schifferinian. SL says, oh my God, heroin? That's crazy. Carla says, yep. Asha says, laugh out loud. I have asthma. Heroin seems a little extreme.
Yep, that
Yeah,
was the fix at the time,
there
though.
were no inhalers.
Yep.
SL, laugh out loud. Robert says, well, thanks, Ian and Shiva, for answering my questions tonight. Very kind of you. You're
You're
welcome.
welcome.
Asha says, I'd never sleep. Carla says, I remember white crosses being used for asthma. White crosses? Okay, I don't remember that at all, but Beth says, SL, it was a different type of opioids than now. Astra says, then I could party with the fairies all night long on coke.
Yep.
Oh, say, before we go, I learned something from one of you guys, not necessarily one on the live show, but somebody on our channel said that in Ireland, they cut the blackthorn, which is what they make the shillelagh staff out of, on a full moon, because on a full moon, the fairies are occupied dancing in the fields. It's the only time they can cut the wood without being worried about consequences. So apparently on a full moon, you can cut wood down and the fairies won't take offense because they're busy partying somewhere else. And I thought, how interesting is that? It's like, you never know. Carla says they were speeders you could get at a gas station back in the 1980s. Ha!
Yeah, we used to call them cross tops, but I often suspected they were just caffeine pills, but I wasn't sure.
Well, we sometimes do learn things about what's better for us, which is good. I mean, you know, that I've seen pictures of the cough syrup and it's got heroin and
Yes.
dilaudinum and all kinds of other things in it that like would get you in prison for a decade or more at this point. Astra says fairies really do dance in a circle. And Beth says, Astra, you can do that with no drugs, but I'm in love with mine. It depends on what kind they are and what you need. Astra says, and there was a bug fairy with a monocle. Wow. Barbara says, nice necklace, Shifra. It's tiger eye. Yeah, this is one I made with some of my beads one day. I liked it. I like the tiger eye beads. They're nice. SL says, ooh, I want to go to a fairy party. And at Astra, that's awesome. Yes. It is awesome. Well, I have heard, and I don't know, I've heard from when I lived up north, I was told that rabbits will come out of their holes on a full moon and dance in a field because, I don't know, maybe the moonlight gets them all excited. I talked to people who said they've seen that. So it could be real. I've not seen it myself, so I can't be 100% sure. Asha says, then I saw fairy art later and they have bugs wearing shoes and top hats, and I'm surprised that I saw that before I saw the art. So these artists must have seen actual fae. Well, I told you about the guy who was, you know, in my bedroom and he had little buckled shoes. It was like little buckles on his shoes. He was quite dapperly dressed too and had a nice little hat and everything. I was kind of surprised when I saw him. I'm like, okay, really? All right. I guess some of them look like that. Astor says, that's wild. I'm going to be watching those bunnies. Beth says, oh, I meant the fairies and nature spirits, no drugs. I would go insane. My third eye is too open. That's me too, Beth. I can't, I cannot do, I cannot do drugs. In fact, they gave me one small pill of, what was it? Not Valium, the other thing. And I was 3 days before I actually woke up the rest of the way. It's like, man, that just hits me. Robert says, no alcohol. Yeah, we don't do alcohol either, except for medicinally every so often. Asher says, that's so cute. The buckles. Robert says, I will open my fourth eye. Violet says, I have a headset on and walking around, so I just want to say thank you and bye, but shall be with you to the end. Thank you, Violet. We appreciate that. Astor says, yeah, I don't do drugs. I'm very sensitive to substances. And that's the thing, is like everyone's brain chemistry is so different. Robert says, I don't eat. I will let myself perish. No, you need to eat. I'm sure I told you guys about the breatharian in Santa Cruz that tried to get people to be convinced that he could live off of air, and then they caught him at a McDonald's. Not breathing air alone.
Well, you know.
Barbara says, me too, Astra. I like tobacco. And I try not to damage my vessel as much as possible
Yeah.
so it'll last as long as it
Well,
can.
it's sad how many people are addicted to dihydrogen monoxide, but I guess that's an old joke, so we'll
Yes,
let that pass.
I am allergic to, I am not allergic. I am addicted to that. Dihydrogen monoxide is definitely one of my vices.
Yeah.
Astra says psychics and substances don't do well usually. Yeah, I think that's the case. Robert says, Siofra, can you detect for how long I will have my 3D vessel? I don't do that. It really depends on what you do. I mean, I know when I'm going to die. I don't know how I know it, but I know every day when it's not going to be that day, I guess I should say. Because when I almost was going to fall off a cliff in a car covered in ice, I felt confident enough to try and back down the icy mountain because I knew I wasn't going to die that day, but boy did I come close. So no, I don't like to predict people's demise. It's up to you how long it's going to last. That's
Yeah,
it.
and then you know, if you were to be wrong and the person took you seriously, then that could cause all kinds of
Self-fulfilling prophecies are
yeah,
real.
all kinds of potential issues. So yeah,
Beth says, now I like my wine, but I put sparkling water with it. Robert says, me too, Beth. Okay, guys, it looks like it's almost 3:30, so we need to get going. Teresa says, drugs and alcohol drain you and keep you from living out your best self. Well, they certainly do me, and they have many people I've known personally. So, everyone is different. Some people can do it in moderation and not have a problem. Beth says, when I learn new information, I know it's closer. Grateful Alice says, take care, everyone. And Astra says, Kundalini is like drug. Well, definitely
true.
gets your
Yep.
serotonin going like crazy. Yeah, definitely. You make your own though, so it's not as addictive as the other stuff. Ian says, blessed be everyone. Thanks for your wonderful participation. Astra says, it makes me hyper. SL says, thank you guys. Blessed be. Beth says, love. Carla says, enjoy the rest of your day, everyone. Thanks so much, Siofra and Ian. And Violet says, bye. Bye, guys.
Bye.
See you next week.